This season of the Urban Conservative Podcast is brought to you by Newton for Senate, working to improve education, reduce taxes, and keep North Carolina #1 for business. Find out more at newtonforsenate.com. This episode of the Urban Conservative has also been sponsored by Case Technology Consulting. Help your business get value out of its data and become more efficient and streamlined. Case Technology Consulting. Check out the link in the description. Episode of Top of the Morning is brought to you by Edward Jones financial advisor Kelly Harmon, providing you with well-researched guidance backed by Edward Jones' extensive team and technology that help you prepare for retirement, children's education, or other financial goals. Call 252-473-1006 or visit the link on the screen. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Top of the morning to you. You're checking out the best 30-minute morning show on the planet, Top of the Morning. I'm your host, Addul Ali. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Urban Conservative. If you haven't done so already, please jump on over to tuconservative.com. Get yourself a membership, grab yourself a mug, a hat, a t-shirt, something like that to help us keep doing what we do, which is to spread conservative messages and the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across the country. Again, my name is Addul Ali. If this is your first time checking us out, make sure you jump over to YouTube. Give our channel a follow there, TUC Twins. And each and every Monday night, 8 p.m., you can check out the Urban Conservative Podcast. We really appreciate all of our supporters. You can also underwrite an episode or sponsor a show by going over to tuconservative.com, clicking that thing that says sponsor an episode, and we'll get you right all hooked up. Big shouts out to my homegirl, Kelly Harmon. I will see you on Thursday out there in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Looking forward to seeing you out there. And look, if you haven't done so already, grab that Hamilton plan, ladies and gentlemen. It's only $10. That's the way you keep us doing what we do, keep the show rolling and supporting the podcast. So again, ladies and gentlemen, tuconservative.com. Now, y'all know what it is. It is February the 28th, which means it is the last day of Black History Month. Right? And all this month, you've heard us say it, not just here on the Urban Conservative, but as I've traveled throughout the state of North Carolina, you've heard me say one of the things we need to do each and every Black History Month is not only to talk about the accomplishments that people had, not only talk about the things that people invented, but we also need to be talking about and sharing the values that people had to have in order to succeed in the face of legally codified systemic racism. Now, some of y'all are gonna blow a fuse, blow a gasket because I said the words systemic racism. And if there's anything we've learned this month, that it's okay to use certain terminology when it's appropriate. So Jim Crow was an example of systemic racism, okay? Slavery was an example of direct, legally codified systemic racism. Do we have those problems today? I've been asking all Black History Month as I've talked to my friends on the left, my left-leaning center of left friends, and my far, far, far left friends, name me a law that is on the books right now in the United States of America that says you cannot, because of the color of your skin. You cannot buy a house, you cannot buy a car, you cannot live in a neighborhood, you cannot get a job, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Tell me the law that says you can't do that. There is none. Not in America in 2023. We are so far away from where my good friend Clarence Henderson started back in 1960 when he sat at that Woolworth lunch counter. We are a lifetime away from that world that was the United States back in 1960. Now, there are some folks on the left who want me and you to believe that we are as racist, if not more racist, than we were in 1960. Okay? And because there's incidents that happened, incidents like this one. Okay, there's incidents like this one that happened here, a Chick-fil-A incident. Okay, lady goes to Chick-fil-A, she gets a cup, and in the cup, the message says that. Yeah, y'all soak that in for a second. And the funny thing is, Black Enterprise is reporting this as saying, do you want a side of racism with those waffle fries? So now, because of this incident, I'm going to have to believe not the idiot that was working the cash register, not the butthead that took her order is an idiot. I have to think the entire organization of Chick-fil-A is racist. Okay, this is what we learned this Black History Month. According to WSOC TV, Nyasha Jackson was in line to pick up her food at a Charlotte-based chain, the bastion of liberal thinking, Charlotte. When she receives the receipt, a racial slur was printed on it instead of her name. She told her name was Nyasha, and the worker put on it N blank. Her mother, April Jackson, said, one thing I noticed about these incidences is where's the dad at in these incidences? I mean, I get it. Maybe dad was taking a picture. All right, we'll go with that. Dad was taking a picture. That's what we'll do. And now Nyasha said an employee at the popular fast food restaurant gave her a warning when she was handed her food. He was like, you might want to look what they put your name as, Jackson said. I was in shock. I literally parked right there and I couldn't eat the food. I was just in shock. The 19-year-old's mother, April, is calling for the employee who took the order to be fired. So here's my thing about this, right? Number one, why on God's green earth did that man say, look at the receipt? Why didn't that coworker stop right then and there? Just stop right then and there. Go to the manager, say, who just took this order right here? Who just took this? Why in the world would you tell them, you better look at your receipt, look at what they put on your receipt? Why didn't you stop that right dead in its tracks? That's absolutely nuts that the Chick-fil-A employee would allow that to be given to a customer. I'm more pissed off about that than I am about some idiot thing. Now, I would not be surprised if the girl goes to school in Charlotte. Something might be amiss. I don't know. This is all alleged. Did she know the person who took her order, maybe? Was there something going on there? I don't know. But this is Black History Month. This is what we get inundated with. Stories like this. Now, again, we're supposed to believe that the entirety of the organization of Chick-fil-A is now racist, right? And this is the other thing we get, if this wasn't right in time for the end of Black History Month, hair discrimination. That's where we're at. We're at hair discrimination, ladies and gentlemen. I remember some time ago, there was a story about a young man who had hair a certain way, and they didn't want to let him walk the stage because his hair was a certain way, okay? Here's the thing, it's called standards. Now, in this story, many Black people are discriminated against for wearing natural hairstyles, especially at work. And this is why I'm bringing this up. WCNC again, this is the good old left stream media trying to convince people, here we are at the end of Black History Month, that how racist America is. As part of Black History Month, WCNC Charlotte has been highlighting people and places that show off Black history and culture across the Carolina. But just as important as highlighting people and places is highlighting Black issues. Prejudice against natural and protective hairstyles are statistically proven to disenfranchise Black people, especially in the workplace. For April Atkinson, who's been doing hair for more than 18 years, it's not news. Her storefront in North Grand Sheets is more than a salon. It's a place where people could come tell their stories. I've had people actually cut their locks off because they feel it's a barrier. Yes, it is a daggone barrier. Yes, it is. You cannot go to, if a job has a standard of neatly kept hair that is no longer than shoulder length, don't go get a job there. Go work somewhere where they don't care about your hair. How about that? You don't get to go to somebody's private job, their private company, and tell them what you're going to do. Start your own business. You can have your hair however in the world you want your hair to be. But you don't get to go to somebody's private business. You don't get to go to a school, a private education organization. You don't get to go to those people and tell them what you're going to do. You start your own company, then you can have your hair however in the world you want to have your hair. That's the bottom line. I've had people actually cut their locks off because they feel it's a barrier. Those feelings aren't unfounded. A Sage Journal study found Black women with natural hairstyles hairstyles were perceived to be less professional, less competent, and less likely to be recommended for a job interview. Because if you come in my office, I'm going to tell you right now, I know employers who, if you walk in their office with this crazy hair, 19 different colors, seashells and ankhs and all this crazy junk all over you, that doesn't look professional. It doesn't. It doesn't look neat. It doesn't look kept. It looks nasty in some cases. Have y'all seen some of these dreadlocks? Am I tripping? You don't get to walk into somebody's office and tell them what you're going to do. Doesn't work that way. Okay. But this is what we're faced with at the end of Black History Month. This is what we're supposed to have learned by the end of Black History Month, according to the left media, the leftist media and the left-wing media icons. We're supposed to be afraid. We're supposed to be dejected. Racism is still rampant in America, even though it's just one idiot at a Chick-fil-A who hopefully they'll fire. So we're going to take a quick commercial break right here on Top of the Morning. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We got something else to talk about. Episode of Top of the Morning is brought to you by Edward Jones financial advisor Kelly Harmon, providing you with well-researched guidance backed by Edward Jones' extensive team and technology that help you prepare for retirement, children's education, or other financial goals. Call 252-473-1006 or visit the link on the screen. Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com. Welcome back to Top of the Morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are checking out the best 30-minute morning show on the planet. I'm your host, Addul Ali. This morning, ladies and gentlemen, my little mug shot for the morning. This is what we on. We on our feelings and emotions mug. It's supposed to be like a mood ring mug, and the mood is jovial this morning. And I'm sipping a little French Express exclusive blend from the homies out in Kannapolis at French Express. If you are in the Cabarrus and Rowan County area looking for a good spot to have a cup of coffee, go check out French Express, man. Really good spot, man. Good people. Shouts out to my man Ryan French and the whole crew over at French Express, man. Okay. Other thing we're going to cover this morning. Now, I have two kids. They are grown young adults now, 21 and 19, and 22, 19, and 3, actually, 22, 21, and 19. Okay. 2 boys and a girl. The girl's in the middle. Now, when they were born, they popped out, and we clearly knew what they were. We knew they were boys, and we knew they were girls. That's it. There was no ambiguity about that. We weren't unsure. I mean, we knew exactly what they were when we came out. And my daughter, for a long time, was not a big fan of the dress thing. She wasn't a big fan of dressing all daintily and doing dainty girl things. Matter of fact, I remember when she was highly upset that the Girl Scouts didn't get to do what the Boy Scouts did while the Girl Scouts were doing the home ec, cooking and cleaning and sewing and baking and stuff. The boys were out doing changing car tires and oil changes and all the field stuff that goes along with being in the Boy Scouts, right? And there came a point where she snapped out of that, right? There came a point where the hormones change, females change, and she became more dainty. She became more female. She grew into her womanhood, as I would like to say. Now, at no point as a parent would I have accepted or allowed my daughter to come to me and say, "Hey, Dad, I like these pants, therefore I think I'm a boy." Or my son to have come to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I like the color salmon," or "I like pink, I think I'm a girl." At no point would I have allowed that. And I think when we start talking about this transgender movement, and that is, it is affecting children to the point where countries and places are suggesting laws. Even in our own country, you have people that are making the suggestion that children can change their gender without parental consent. We've seen stories, we've covered them here, of teachers wanting children to keep these type of things secret from their parents. And the one of the interesting things about this particular story is that there's actually a psychologist, a trans psychologist that appeared on Sean Hannity, and he's talking about that very issue. Check this out, y'all, real quick. Just give this a listen. This is a trans psychologist. Listen to this.
Fine. My litter box emits an aroma. Rest assured, I have my...
Brian Wagner was in his early 20s when, like so many young men, his life derailed. He became addicted to drugs, he was depressed. He also watched a lot of porn, and porn gave him the idea that he might, in fact, be a woman. So he consulted doctors, and very quickly they put him on estrogen, and that made his problems much worse. Brian Wagner no longer believes what his doctors told him. He does not identify as female. He is back to how he was born, a man, and he joins us tonight to explain what he went through. Brian, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Yo, just for the record, nothing's on the screen.
Oh, it's not playing?
No, I don't want that playing on there because it'll block our page. You can't play that on.
Okay.
I don't know why you would pull that up.
Well, I wanted y'all to hear, basically, I wanted folks to hear that this guy, they had a trans psychologist go on and basically say, no good. I went down the wrong rabbit hole. This is not right. We should not be allowing children. And you can go watch him. He appeared on Hannity, man, and Tucker Carlson. I'm sorry. But this child psychologist, this trans child psychologist is out there helping people and hoping that we don't allow children to go down this rabbit hole of mutilating their bodies, of mutilating their spirits, of mutilating their consciousness. You know, it is a dark and dangerous thing that we're allowing if we start allowing people, especially teachers, to hold these things. If kids need to explain this to their parents or have these type of conversations with their parents, it is a dangerous, dangerous rabbit hole to go down when you start allowing this to happen to children. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a time in our state here in North Carolina. I know it's gonna happen across the country where we're really gonna have to have this serious debate about what the role of education is in our country. Should we be allowing teachers and school systems to act as wards over children instead of the parents? Do we allow a school to hold information about a child away from their parent, i.e. the child wants to transition, think about changing their name, you know, all those kind of things. These surveys that these children are getting in the schools, asking them these questions. And I feel like a lot of times these are leading questions, because if a child 8, 10, 12 years old is having some different type of thoughts and hormones are raging and all that kind of thing, and the home life may not be good, these kids are susceptible to accepting some crazy ideas, some things that'll be detrimental and harmful to them. So we've got to, as a society and as a culture, really take account for what we're doing when we allow school boards to pass ordinances and rules to say, you can transition. We'll call you, if your name is Jimmy, we'll call you Janine at school, but we won't tell your parents. That's absolutely nuts. I mean, that's beyond nuts. That's psychotic almost to do that. So we're gonna stop for a second right here. We're gonna take about a 1-minute commercial break, and when we come back, last story for the day right here on Top of the Morning. Don't go nowhere. This season of the Urban Conservative Podcast is brought to you by Newton for Senate, working to improve education, reduce taxes, and keep North Carolina #1 for business. Find out more at newtonforsenate.com. This episode of the Urban Conservative has also been sponsored by Case Technology Consulting. Help your business get value out of its data and become more efficient and streamlined. Case Technology Consulting. Check out the link in the description. up, y'all? Welcome back to Top of the Morning. You are checking out the best 30-minute morning show on the planet. I'm your host, Addul Ali. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Urban Conservative. Quick couple of updates of what's happening with your General Assembly here in North Carolina, just to make sure you are all aware of what's happening. Couple of new things, lower blood alcohol content. Some representatives are reconsidering what it means to drive drunk. A bill proposed in the North Carolina House would lower the legal blood alcohol concentration level when driving a car or a boat. About a half a dozen Republicans want to make it against the law to get behind the wheel with a blood alcohol content of 0.05 or higher. Currently, the legal limit is 0.08. The proposal is off to a House Judiciary Committee where it will receive further consideration. Now, here's the thing. Driving drunk is a problem. We don't recommend that you do that. Is a 0.05 and a 0.08 that much different? If you know, get in the comments. Let us know. I'm curious about that. I didn't is that a beer's worth of difference, or is that like a shots or a couple of shots worth of difference? I mean, and I'm the kind of guy that's like, all right, if I have a beer at an event and I wait 2-3 hours, like I drink at the beginning of the event and then wait till the end of the event, wait till later. Man, take you an Uber, do something. Driving drunk ain't the move, driving buzzed ain't even the move. There's also something on the table about congressional term limits. Some state representatives are looking to make a national change. A joint House resolution wants to amend the U.S. Constitution to impose term limits on members of Congress. Speaker Tim Moore of the North Carolina House is sponsoring the legislation, and nearly 30 other Republicans. It does not specify how many terms an elected official would have before forfeiting the position. While the bill would send a message, it is unlikely to have any meaningful impact on national U.S. politics. Now, here's the thing. There's two sides to this term limit thing. One side of the term limit thing is that if the people want to continue voting for somebody, right? If the people want to continue to voting for somebody, that's okay. I don't necessarily have a problem with the fact that the people will continuously vote for somebody, but there does come a point where you have a technology gap, the average age of the country gap, and then there's the fact of the matter is you went into Congress worth nothing and you're leaving out worth 45, 50, 60, $100 million. That's problematic. And then my other thing is, if you can't get done what you need to get done in 2-3 terms, what are you doing? I think the framers of the Constitution would absolutely be not on board with somebody being in Congress for 40 years. 35, 40 years. It was always interesting. We heard this, Donald Trump's problem is Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump is the reason why everything is bad. But you've been in Congress for 40 years. You've been in D.C. Joe Biden been in D.C. since the early 80s. But everything's Donald Trump's fault. Come on, man. Get out of here with that. Last but not least, the North Carolina State of the Union address is set for March 6th. The date is set. State lawmakers have invited him to give that. While the state of the state speech is largely ceremonial, he cannot give the speech without an official invitation from a combined committee of senators and representatives. Now, here's one of my things. I think you're going to see Roy Cooper. Just remember, I said this here for those in the audience. Just remember this. You're going to see Roy Cooper run for president as a Democrat. And what he's going to do is he's going to take credit for all of the work that Republicans have done over the last 6, 8, 10 years to bring North Carolina back to economic surety, put us on solid economic footing, give us a good size rainy day fund, improve education. He's going to take credit for all of that stuff. And watch him. Remember this. If Roy Cooper, because he's a safe Democrat to run, he had a Republican legislature both times. He vetoed things along party lines, right? He vetoed the stuff that the left would approve of. And then he wrote in, he signed off on things that would make moderate Democrats look at him as if he's an okay guy who can get stuff done. So remember, I said this, folks. Don't be surprised if you see Roy Cooper at the top of the list of people running for president in 2024 on the Democratic side. It is a huge potential thing. And then I'll tell you right now, if we do get Roy Cooper running for president, the NCGOP can't afford the status quo, folks. We can't have the same status quo leadership. We're going to have folks that can get into Raleigh, that can get into Durham, that can get into all the Wake and all of these urban counties and really fight for these votes. We cannot go with the status quo. I'm sorry. we're gonna have to change some things up. I'm just saying that from the perspective of if Roy Cooper decides to run for president, which I'm having a feeling is going to happen, the man can raise a ton of money. He can do it. He's done it already. So we're going to see what happens. But we'll see. Term limits are on the table, are being discussed. A resolution, again, that is not necessarily going to have a national impact. Last but certainly not least, and I talked about this yesterday, there's a local hemp grower that's pushing for a bill that will legalize medical. Right now, medical marijuana is on the table. It's been presented. It's called the NC Compassionate Care Act, a bill to legalize medical marijuana in the North Carolina Senate. It was called, when it was called Senate Bill 711, it made some progression last year, but it didn't get past the House. Dan Maddox spoke to Nicole Burnett, one of the owners of Queen City Hemp in Charlotte, who is hopeful that the amended version, Senate Bill 3, will pass. Now, one of the things about this medical marijuana situation is that the licensing is going to be very, very expensive. This is not going to be something where the average Joe can decide to get into the medical marijuana business. You're not going to just be able to pop up tomorrow and be like, I'm a weed dealer. It just doesn't work that way. But that bill was presented. Senate Bill 3 was presented. And look, I think there's a possibility that this does occur. I think that one of the things, SB 3 received its first vote in Senate Committee Tuesday, but it has a really long road to go before it can potentially become a law. The senators that are pushing for this, I think, when we look at what medical marijuana means, some folks are basically saying this creates the slippery slope of now we're going to go down the path of, what do they call that? Recreational. I don't see North Carolina with the current makeup of our legislature. I don't see them going anytime soon. I don't even see it in the next 5 years that recreational marijuana would come down the pike. I think medical, there's more. I think there's more willingness on behalf of to the benefit of the patients who need it. And I could see that going through, but I just don't see recreational marijuana becoming a thing in North Carolina anytime soon. But we'll see. We'll follow along closely to make sure that we keep you all in the loop as that develops and other stories here. Again, each and every Monday night, 8 p.m., you can check me and my brother out for the Urban Conservative Podcast. We really appreciate all the love and support from all of our sponsors and underwriters. We got to give a big shout out to each and every one of them. Thank you so much. And also, I'm going to see if I can find this real quick. I want to give a plug to this, because if you haven't done so already, I'm telling you right now, you need to get your tickets for this. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Right here. This is something you all need to get your tickets to. Let me see if I can find this here. It is right around here. Here we go. If you haven't done so already, you need to get your tickets to this event, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be something cool for you all. Big shouts out to the homeboy, Dan Barry. If you haven't gotten your tickets, please visit the Hornets Nets Men's Republican Club for a congressional update with Congressman Chip Roy and our good friend Dan Bishop. It's going down March 16th, 6 to 9 p.m. Dan is going to be joining us tomorrow morning on the show. We're going to be talking about 2024 gubernatorial elections. We're going to be talking about the presidential election. We're going to be talking about all things North Carolina with our good friend Dan Barry, president of the Hornets Nest Republican Men's Club, tomorrow morning here on the Urban Conservative. Top of the morning. So we appreciate y'all, each and every one. We will see you all bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. As always, y'all have a peaceful, positive, and productive day, and we'll holla at you later. Peace. Episode of Top of the Morning is brought to you by Edward Jones financial advisor Kelly Harmon, providing you with well-researched guidance backed by Edward Jones' extensive team and technology that help you prepare for retirement, children's education, or other financial goals. Call 252-473-1006 or visit the link on the screen.